Hello everyone and welcome back to Sendik's Weather channel. Today we are going to take a look at the latest from the models for the next couple of weeks, which will take us to the 26th of April when we extend out 2 weeks away with the GFS and the ECMWF runs. So also have a look at that icon firstly to see what the trends and anomalies are for the next couple of weeks. So at the moment we have high pressure sat over the top of the country, keeping it quite dry, quite settled, but it is going a bit colder at the moment. Especially during the mornings, there's been quite some harsh overnight frost. Some quite harsh overnight frost, I should say. But 9 o'clock when I'm recording this, it's 11 degrees, so it's not too bad. It's still pretty nice by day, especially in Scotland with that more southwesterly influence winds, bringing in them mild temperatures into the north of Scotland. So pretty nice up there. But you can see by the early hours, it is 1 to 3 degrees quite widely. But by day, 17s and 18s are possible further north. Maybe even high as 20 in some places. Anyway, I'll have a look at the latest for the trends, because yesterday I was talking about the colder potential, and while that's still there, the models have begun to drift away from that, but now there's the development potentially of a cut-off low to the southwest towards France and Spain, and I'll show you all that right now. If you do enjoy today's video and find it informative, make sure to drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate your continued support. Let's get straight on with things then. So like I said before, high pressure's over the top of the country, and just to the south, I guess, bringing in the wind for the north from the southwest, but under the middle of that high pressure, it can be cooler by night, as you can see. So if we go to tonight, it's not as cool, but the temperatures are still dropping to 2 or 3, 4 degrees in places for Friday morning, so tomorrow. So we'll still feel quite chilly, but by day, pretty fine. That sunny and dry weather is going to be cleared away by Sunday as we go into more of an Atlantic-driven flow, with winds in from the west turning more unsettled from the west. A little low develops in the flow with the icon by as early as Tuesday, and that will bring bouts of wet weather into the far south and southwest, and that moves further northwards and spins around the country. That's a bit of a low that could bring some heavy rain to many parts of the country, where they haven't seen much recently, but we do need the rain, of course. Beyond that, high pressure builds out in the Atlantic again. We have seen this being seen in the models of high pressure building out in the Atlantic, which sends the jet stream southwards and basically turns us more unsettled, with areas of low pressure moving around to our north and west, keeping it quite unsettled and cooler as well, but not cold, of course. You can see the colder air's going into the North Atlantic, and we're on the average side to slightly below average side. So turning more mixed and slightly cooler and more unsettled with the icon. Let's see how the GFS compares. Will it have that cut-off low? Well, again, we clear away that mild weather by Saturday into Sunday and turn more unsettled and Atlantic driven. Still probably will not feel too bad, but it will be a bit cooler than it has been as of late. As you can see with the GFS, we have low pressure out to our west, bringing in the wind from the southwest, but it's not particularly mild. There's some milder air drifting in from off the Atlantic, I would say. But again, there's a lot of cooler air masses out to our west. So as that low pressure sits over the top of the country, this is an area of low pressure, a weak area of low pressure. This will be bringing bouts of rain to the country, you'd expect, by Thursday the 17th. Then, as you can see, the idea of a cut-off low from the GFS, low pressure sat towards France and Spain, just out to the west, being blocked off by the high pressure towards Greenland, and this turns us very, very mild, but it cuts off the low just to our south, as you can see. So that's going to bring in bouts of really heavy rain to the southwest and the western parts of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and to parts of France and Spain, you'd expect with that. And you can see that gets cut off by this high pressure building to our north, and that just brings really heavy bouts of heavy rain. Looks like a storm system when you see that, but it's not quite. It's not quite as developed as a storm system, but it would still bring some very heavy spells of rain if this came off, and very mild temperatures as well, moving on the back side of that low with its orientation on the back edge of that low. You can see the winds around this low pressure in the Atlantic are in from the west, from the south or southeast, but they're originating from Spain, so it is pretty mild. As you can see around that, the winds are coming in from like France and Italy again, and in the southeast, so we're bringing up some very mild air again, which is pretty nice, keeping it quite dry for many, besides in that far south and southwest corner. Beyond that, when with the GFS again, it keeps doing its theme of high pressure building out in the Atlantic by the very end, bringing down colder northerly winds. But again, as we go beyond into April, the winds from the north will become less potent as we're losing that cold air signal. But for much of the run, it looks quite nice and dry and mild. There are still a few cold runs, I must note, but they are in the minority at the moment. But we'll keep monitoring for you all as well, of course, because it doesn't take much for that high to adjust itself towards Greenland. That low dives southwards, and we do bring in some colder air. But the trend is still a little bit uncertain. But the theme today is for, look, turn unsettled and slightly cooler than it is at the moment. Right, so we've got the GEM next. Low pressures moving in from off the Atlantic by Sunday, turning us more unsettled and Atlantic driven. Lots of areas of low pressure spinning around, keep bringing in showery rain to many parts of the country. Maybe lots of needed rain as well. By the 19th, we see that cut off low again, but it is not as developed. But you can see it is just a little bit further south towards Spain and Portugal, bringing bouts of heavy rain. We're pretty average or slightly cooler than average, with these air masses moving in from the north or northeast. But again, not much cold air around on this run to our north and northeast. There is further earlier in the run, but it does get dissipated quickly. As high pressure by the very end topples over and just to the west of the country, bringing in the wind from a slack northeasterly, keeping it quite dry actually. But it is the GEM, so again, take it with a pinch of salt. It is the GEM. But yeah, it definitely turns unsettled for a time, especially in the north. But that low pressure is slightly further southwards, that cut-off low, meaning that we stay mostly dry. With the ECM then, finally, we're going to use a different website so we can extend out beyond day 10, because we want to have a full look at it and see what it is showing. So it does look slightly different, but again, it's pretty similar theme. As you can see, again, we've got low pressure moving in from off the Atlantic by Sunday and Monday, with winds in from the west or off the Atlantic-driven flow. The jet stream sinks southwards, but with the ECM, it's like it develops a dartboard low right over the top of the country. Similar to the Icon, actually. A low pressure's right over the top of the country by Wednesday, so earlier than most of the other runs. And that kind of sits over and just to the west of the country. A cut-off low develops between Ireland and Spain and Portugal again, as high pressure ridges in the Atlantic and builds to our east towards Scandinavia. So we stay pretty unsettled, especially in the west and the southwest, and into parts of the Republic of Ireland, of course. Before high pressure kind of sits around the country, and then areas of low pressure continue to move in from off the Atlantic and bring in lots of areas of wet weather, but interspersed with drier interludes as well. As you can see, a lot of the time the winds are in from the west or southwest, probably keeping it quite mild. You can see the upper air temperatures are originating to around average to slightly above, with winds in from mild directions primarily. There are slightly cooler air masses at times, such as the 17th of April, but they don't last too long, and the average to slightly above average air moves back in. Colder air masses remain far north towards the poles and don't really sink southwards. So we'll see how things develop, and of course we'll keep you posted. If we have a look at the ensembles for the GFS then, you can see, if I move that, there we go, you can see that this is for central England, for Barnsley. We are above average at the moment, but again, could be slightly cooler by night. The trend is down though, to around average or slightly below average. There are a few colder runs still mixed in, but again, there's not a definitive trend towards colder. It kind of looks around to slightly below average, with more unsettled and wetter interludes moving in. And you can see there are more rain spikes than there was a few days ago. Again, it's not still primarily unsettled. It still looks drier, like there'll be drier spells, but they might be mixed in with more wetter weather, maybe even stormy weather we could be talking about soon. It's getting to that time of year again, May, June, when we talk about storms and weather systems like that. But maybe we will see a cut-off low develop between France, Spain and Portugal, maybe even Western Ireland as well. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you all very much for watching today's video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.